Hey guys, today we're going to be going over Crested Gecko vitamin routines. So today I have a few things and I'm using a different camera. So I will go ahead and focus this for you. So here we have the Exoterra liquid calcium and magnesium. So this here I suggest giving to any female Crested Geckos for sure. Just because when females reach that proper age where they are producing eggs, just because they're mature enough to, they will need calcium, of course, to go towards the forming of the eggs. So, of course, this for sure is going to help. Also because it has magnesium in it, that also helps with the absorption of the calcium. Here we have the Reptivite. Oh, let me put that down so I don't forget about it. Here we have the Reptivite Zoomed. And this is, of course, got D3 in it, but you can, of course, get it without D3. This was the only one that Petco had, so I got this just because I needed to get something new. But I will kind of zoom in on the ingredients there for you if you can kind of see it, hopefully. But you can see it's got a wide amount of stuff in it. Now, because this does have magnesium and calcium in it as well, I would definitely not suggest giving both these vitamins on the same day. Here we have a little spoon, and let me see if I can focus this for you. There we go. So this here is a little spoon that I got off of Etsy, and this is a metal charm. It does not have any plated, color coded anything. I'll show you the little baggie that I got. So this here came with 10, and I got it for about $7 after shipping, but they're really nice because they do not have any flecking or like color flecking off or coming off, whatever you want to say. But I washed this with a organic dish soap that I have, and I didn't do a lot of soap. I did like a small drop to a small amount of hot water, and then I scrubbed it really good and dried it with a paper towel just to make sure that there was no paint or anything coming off, and there was nothing because these are metal. So that is the one thing, is they're safe to use, or at least I would assume so. So I will go ahead and explain to you real quick what I do vitamin-wise. So with my geckos that are growing, like baby geckos, they also get these vitamins, not just the female adults. My male adult gecko gets the vitamins just because everybody else gets the vitamins. Everyone else is on the vitamin regimen, so I figured I might as well just have him in there as well, because just to keep him up. Like with males, you can do the multivitamin, that's not going to hurt anything, but you don't have to do the you don't have to do the liquid calcium. It's not definitely a requirement just because this has calcium in it, so you don't have to add this to the male's diet unless you want to. It's obviously not going to hurt anything having that extra vitamin in there. So I'll go ahead and show you, of course, this, because I'll be showing you how I mix the food tonight. This is some pre-mixed Pangea fruit and insects that I put some vitamin powder in. I have one that I have not mixed so you guys can see how much water I add. With the liquid calcium, I'll show you real quick. Hopefully that hasn't been blurred the entire time. With the liquid calcium, it says here on the back, which I'll zoom in for you real quick. It says here, shake thoroughly before use and add 2 drops per 1 fluid ounce of water. So you can add this to water that they drink, but because my geckos definitely poop in their water dish, I don't add it to the water, I add it to their food. So because you can do 1 drop, or 2 drops, sorry, you can do 2 drops per 1 fluid ounce of water, you can do 1 drop for 0.5 fluid ounces, so that means that it would be perfectly safe to add it into this food, because by the time you are done adding the water, and it's also mixing with the food, it'd be perfectly safe to do it. And I'll go ahead and show you, this is how much 1 drop is in here, and I'll focus this for you. As you can see, this here is 1 drop. It is a very small drop. I'll show you how to do it because I don't mind using up some of this. Of course, you don't have to shake it because I'm not giving any of the liquid tonight. But I'll go ahead and show you. You will let the liquid collect at the opening like it is right now. And then you will just boop, drop it right in. You'll get 1 clean drop. You don't have to worry about it overspilling or giving you a small drop. If you go quickly, you can get the wrong amount, so I definitely would not go fast when doing the liquid calcium, because that is a pure form of calcium. You definitely do not want to give too much. It's okay to give less than that, but what's the point at that case if you're doing such a small amount that's really not going to do anything? So When I give my geckos vitamins, I'm going to get this ready real quick. I always tap on the sides to remove any extra powder that may be clinging up here. And sometimes I'll just use the straw to get that off as well. But when it comes to vitamins, I will give them, let me focus that real quick because that's going to drive me crazy. I will give them, let's say, for instance, tonight is multivitamins. So the first night, they'll get multivitamins. 2 days later, when they have their next feeding day, they will get no vitamins at all, which I call a blank day. The next 2 days, when they get fed again, they will get calcium, and then after that, the next 2 days, they will get a blank day again, so that there is vitamins, the next feeding there's nothing, vitamins, and then the next feeding there's nothing. That way there's always a blank day in between the 2 feedings. So now I will go ahead and show you about how much water I do. So I take my purified water, which I just have this in a regular spray bottle, and I suppose I'll show it to you, because I really like using these spray bottles. So this is a Hudson Power multi-use sprayer, and it's just the regular one. I got this at Sutherland's, but you probably, if you have a Sutherland's around, you can get it from there, but you probably can also get them off of Amazon. And I bought 2 of them because after a year's use with my last one, this sorry, not used to using this camera, this handle part here, there was a mechanism in there that when you squeeze, it has the pump that brings the water up. It got loose and broke, and so that broke. So they cost about $6, I think, to buy, but if it lasts a year, that's pretty decent for me, because I've gotten some Exoterra sprayers before and they're junk, and they have lubricants in them that make the water smell weird, and I just don't trust it. So let me get this ready for you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how much water, and let me put this straw down so I don't drop it. And I will, of course, add in the video the brand of the straw as well. So here, it's about how much water I add. Okay, and of course I will show you in a second. Now these are 2-ounce little dishes, if that helps at all. Okay, so you can see how much liquid, about the same amount of liquid as there is food, if you can see. And then I'm going to go ahead and mix that as best I can. I like to mix it slowly and incorporate it like this, instead of just full-on mixing quickly. And then I like, if you're using a straw, like I am, then I will always blow through the straw to get any remnants of food that might have gone up in the straw. And you can see it's not super loose, but it doesn't drip off the straw immediately. As you can see, it goes real slow like that. So this is a good consistency. And I always will blow, of course, the remnants out of the straw. And I'll kind of do it like that. And you can see here that I also have these ones here pre-mixed. And after you pre-mix them, if you'll notice, let me see where I need to zoom in here, that they kind of will get a little bit firmer as they sit. This one's probably been sitting for about 10 minutes at the most, and you can see just how much more firm it has become. So before I go to feed my geckos with this dish, I will add a little bit of water, and I'll show you about how much to add. So I drip like about that much water. It's like hardly any. If I had to guess, if you spit, that'd be about how much it would be. So with that, I go ahead and just mix it like this. I just incorporate that extra water in there to kind of rejuvenate it. And if you don't feed your geckos by hand, then you can also do this if you notice the food in their cage has gotten dry, or if it kind of has clumped together like that. You can use the same method. So I'll go ahead and show you now how much multivitamin I do, because I kind of almost forgot to show you about how much I use. Also, I'll show you real quick, this is the measurement that I use. Let me kind of get this ready for you. This is the measurement that I use for my geckos' food. So I give them 1/4 teaspoon, and that is for geckos that are of the ages 8 months and up. So for geckos that are under 8 months, let me see if I have my little scoop. I do not, but I have 1/8 teaspoon scoop that I use, and that is for geckos under 8 months. And most of the time, if you have geckos between the ages of newly hatched to 4 months old, I do 1/2 teaspoon unless they're hungry enough to eat the whole thing. So that way you're not giving them too much food and then wasting it. So with the multivitamin, I will take a little bit of the powder and dump it into the lid here. I'll set that down. So you can see there's a small amount in here. And then I will take the spoon, which you can see here, and then I scoop just a tiny bit of it. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer so you can see about how much that is. So if you see here, that is a very small amount. Now if I were to put it into the spoon, that kind of give you an idea. So that's about half of a scoop of these tiny spoons. Now you can do less if you feel more comfortable doing less. I would definitely not suggest doing more though. Now of course, with older geckos, you probably could do a tiny bit more, but I don't feel comfortable doing that, so they always get the same amount, which would be half of this little spoon here, which that's why it's so nice having something like this to measure with. So of course, that will conclude the vitamin regimen that I have. So now I'll make a little short ending for you guys to get to see some of the baby geckos that are going to get fed tonight, which it's just 3 of them, but it's going to be the older 3. So we're going to see Snickers first, then Mischief, and then Harmony, which of course I did not produce, but the other 2 I did personally breed. So hopefully you guys have found this informative. I know this is a very long video, and if you are really dedicated, you have made it to the end and you're going to get to see the babies. So anyway guys, again, like and subscribe if you'd like to support the channel. It really helps me out and encourages me to make more videos. And for those who might be thinking, where is the Q&A video? I am hoping to be able to buy my new camcorder at either the late this month, which is October, or early November because of some bills that have been coming through. I haven't been able to afford it this month, but I have been taking a little bit out of each paycheck so I can afford it. So anyway, let's get on to feeding the geckos. Okay guys, so I will show you how I normally feed my crested geckos. So this here is Mischief. I know I was going to do Snickers first, but she was hiding and he was a little bit easier to access. So normally when I feed my crested geckos, I always have a paper towel because if anyone has ever had a crested gecko, they know, not so much adults, but the babies love to poop on you. So, and of course once they poop once a day, they will not be pooping anymore. Or, I mean, they might poop twice a day, but like when you're feeding them, they're probably not going to. So I always take a little bit of food, dab it on his face, just a little bit. Because most of the time, once he gets a taste of that, then he's like, yeah, that's pretty good. Just do a little bit, boop. And of course, it doesn't hurt if you cover their nose holes, but I definitely would not be shoving no food up in there on purpose. So, of course, they will lick it off their nose like you can see that he's doing there. But I would definitely, like I'm saying, not purposely put it on their nose, but if it accidentally gets on their nose, they will lick it off. Now, if you accidentally get any food on their eyes, or if you feed in the tank and notice that they have any food on their eye or on their foot or anything like that, because you do want to be checking after they've eaten to make sure there is no food left on their face, on their feet, on their eyes, nothing like that. Because if it gets all crusty and stuff like that, it actually can damage their skin. It also can affect how they shed, which is not good. So if you notice that they have any dried food on their face, their toes, their eye, something like that, use a very soft cloth. Like they have baby wash rags that would work. Or if you used a very soft cotton ball swab, or a Q-tip as a lot of people call them obviously, then you can dampen that with lukewarm water, not cold but not super hot. And that you can just gently rub the area, and it should loosen the food up to where you can gently keep rubbing and it should come off. So, because you obviously do not want to leave that. That's one reason I don't like feeding in the tank, is because the fact that they can step in it. Because Ember used to have problems all the time where she'd step in the food and then she'd walk all over her tank and she'd get footprints everywhere of food that I would have to clean. And then her toes would get stuck together with food. And it's just, even though this is more time consuming, I am getting to bond with my animal because I have them out. Normally when I'm done feeding them, I will hold them for a little bit and then put them up, versus just throwing the food dish into their tank and being done with it. Like, that's not very sociable, and I like to be social with my animals, whether it just be like petting them like this. You can see he does not mind at all. He does see Blossom over there, so he wants to go investigate. But he is very, like, laid back compared to how he used to be. He used to just be so jumpy when he was younger. I don't know if it's just because he was a more cautious gecko, but you can see here he doesn't mind if I touch his tail. Like, I obviously won't do it on purpose, but because I obviously just enjoy, like, petting their dorsal or their back. But, yeah, he isn't bothered by me touching him or interacting with him. So it definitely helps form a bond when you feed by hand, but you also want to be careful not to be, like, mean to them or aggressive, because in the past when I was, like, first breeding, I would get so irritated because the babies would jump all over the place and the food would get all over my bed and stuff because it would come off their nose and they'd rub it on the blanket, and I would get so annoyed. And I look back at that now and I'm thinking, why did I get so angry about such stupid things that can be easily cleaned? So now I have to watch myself, which obviously I'm a lot better about it now, being a little bit more patient with them and stuff, because I learned that when I had a bunch of babies that I would just get annoyed with that kind of stuff. But now it definitely helps if I'm listening to music, because it helps me relax. And of course with them on the paper towel now, if they get food anywhere, it's on the paper towel and I can just toss it in the trash. And they're used to just sitting still while they get fed, which obviously if they were in their tank getting fed, they'd still be sitting still. So, I mean, not like they're moving around when they get fed in their tank, so. But I'm not going to bore you guys too much. I'll go ahead and pause this here and then we'll move on to the next gecko. Like, I'm going to finish giving him his food, obviously. You can do crickets for treats. Most of the time I will do crickets at least once or twice a week. And they've already had crickets this week, so they're not going to get any tonight for feeding. Because even though crickets are only 16% protein, if you give them too often, they can make your gecko fat. And so with Harmony, she's actually having to be on a diet. She isn't getting any crickets right now, because she's actually a little bit chubby. Harmony is. So Harmony and Cappuccino, which I no longer have because he went to a good home, are about the same age, and he was a lot less weight than she was, which shouldn't be the thing. Like, obviously each gecko weighs different and they grow different, but she's almost pretty much the same weight as one of my adults, and she herself is only like a year and 4 months or something like that. And so her almost being the same weight as like a 3-year-old gecko should not be the thing. Like, that's a bit overweight. So yeah, she's going to be on a diet. Like, she's getting the same amount of food, but she's not getting any crickets. So it'd pretty much like you be eating the same amount of food, but no snacks. So that's pretty much what she's doing. Because you obviously don't want it to be such a drastic change that it actually affects them in a negative way. So, but yeah, I'm going to stop rambling now and stop boring you guys. Next gecko. Okay guys, so this here is Snickers. I want to get her on her paper towel. So she, of course, is my frog butt. And she used to have the most beautiful white tail, but she was one of those cases where when a gecko just randomly freaks out and she dropped her tail, which was very odd. Like, it was very not characteristic of her. Like, she normally is never scared. She's always pretty laid back, except for right now she's kind of acting scared. What's wrong, huh? Whenever they flatten themselves like that, that means that they're kind of scared. So let me hold her real quick. What's going on? But no, so what happened was, which if you guys have already seen the video, long story short, she jumped, oh, now she's pooping on me. Stay on the paper towel, ma'am. So she jumped towards the closet, and I went to grab her, picked her up, turned around, she jumped onto the bed. Blossom was about where he is now. And I went to pick her up again because she was running towards him, and he, of course, was like, hey, what is this? And I went and picked her up, sat down like I am now, and had my hands over her so that she would not be afraid, because like when you put an animal in a dark place like this, normally it calms them down. Well, she freaked out and just threw her tail right off. Like, it was the craziest thing. I probably actually was like holding her like this, and that's why her tail was like boing, and I was like, okay. So, which I was like holding her, I don't know if you guys actually saw that. I was holding her like this. And you can see her butt was completely exposed and her head was in like this, and it's not like it's real tight or anything. But, yeah, so she completely freaked out, which is not like her because she normally is pretty laid back, so. But, I'll go ahead and get her a little bit of food. But you can see she's a pretty decent size, but she's not overweight. She's a nice sized gecko. She isn't, super pudgy or anything, which is nice. Because sometimes you have to watch them to make sure, of course, like with Harmony's, Harmony as being the subject of being a little overweight. But, yeah. So this, of course, is Snickers. She is the one that's really pretty like her aunt on her dad's side. Because her aunt, which, I will put a picture in the video because I don't remember her name. Which is terrible of me. But her aunt has the really pretty white tipped crest, just like her. She also has the really pretty white back. And she also has very vibrant orange and white, or orange and cream, like Snickers does. So I think that's definitely her father's side of the family that she got a lot of her colors from, so, which is really nice, because obviously her father comes from tricolor and extreme blonde Harlequin genes, so it's nice that she carried the nice tricolor, which of course her mother's a tricolor, and which was done on purpose because I knew that tricolors would probably be on the higher percentage of being produced because his mother was a tricolor, and then of course he had siblings that were also tricolors, even though he's a blonde Harlequin like his father. So yeah, a lot of genes in there, but it makes it more interesting, you know? And of course, when I got on Facebook and searched his name, and searched the breeder's name, and searched his parents' name, I found a whole bunch of siblings, and the Magma also has several other babies that I, of course, was not aware of. So it's very interesting to, like, get to see stuff like that. Because, of course, with my other geckos, I purchased them, Ember, of course, being young when I purchased her, and Blaze also not being used for breeding when I purchased her. They didn't have any previous experience, so it's interesting seeing with Magma, his previous pairings and his previous mates and his siblings and his parents and stuff like that. It's super interesting to me. So, but yeah, I just wanted to, of course, show you a little bit of Snickers. I know that Mischief is definitely going to get more time in the spotlight because I had more to talk about, but I am to the point I don't want to bore you guys too much. Oh, she got some food on my hand there. And of course you already got to see her use the bathroom, because that's the main reason I have those paper towels, is because of the fact that they like to poop on me. Because they're just chilling, they're like, yeah, but here's another, like, bonus aside from her being a spaz that one time. She's also most of the time laid back because she's used to being handled a lot. So it's nice when you do hand feed, even though, like I said before, it is tedious, because they get comfortable with you to where they're not nervous around you. Now, of course, with her environment makes her nervous for some reason, like when she's out in the open like she is in here. Even though this is a small room, if people walk in my room, say my mom, and starts talking, she will flatten herself because she's scared because something new has been introduced to the environment, and she doesn't like that. So she's a little bit more sensitive to new changes and stuff like that, even though my mom is coming in my room constantly. Not when she's out, but when she's in her tank. So it's interesting to get to see how they differ in personality, because with Mischief, he could just chill here the entire time. He will let other people handle him, but when it comes to her, I think she's more specific with being comfortable with me, because like when it's other people, she kind of acts frightened. So anyway, guys, I will go ahead and stop this here. And then we will do Harmony last, which of course you'll get to see is the chubby lady that's on a diet right now. So, but I'm glad that you got to see some of the babies, because sometimes I feel like I don't show them enough since they've gotten older. But they don't like the camera very much. Like, it makes her nervous especially. But the other ones, it's not that they don't like the camera, I suppose I should say, but they just don't like to hold still. It's nice when they're being fed because they're used to holding still, but when it's just me handling them, they like to move around a lot. They're very active, which obviously is a good sign they're healthy, but at the same time it doesn't make it easy to video them. So, and of course when it's during the day, they're sleeping, so it's just, yeah. It's interesting, but yeah, so anyway, we'll move on to the next gecko. Okie dokie, so here is Harmony. She, of course, is the one that I was telling you guys about that is on a diet currently. So from here, she doesn't really look overweight, but in person, and of course from the scales, oh my goodness! Everybody be pooing on me tonight. I just got done using hand sanitizer, and here she went and peed on me. OMG. Stop. That's nasty. That's just gross. That's like my favorite thing about geckos. They just always go to the bathroom on you. For anybody that wants to get Crested Geckos, this is what you have to look forward to. No kidding. But I better get another paper towel out, which I always use 2, and I fold them in half because she hasn't pooped yet, and she always poops, so I know it's coming. Anyway, this is Harmony. And she is the one that is the little chubby lady. I'm not going to pick her up this time. She doesn't look super fat, but like I said, in person and of course by the scales, she is kind of a little chubby. So, like I said, of course, she does still get the same amount of food. She just doesn't get a heaping amount, because I know I said way earlier in the video that sometimes I do over the scoop by a little bit, but she gets a flat even 1/4 of a teaspoon. So, and right now she's really pretty and fired up. But I am very curious to see like what kind of babies her and Mischief will be able to produce, because while Mischief is, his color palette's completely different. Like obviously he's more vibrant auburn, which is like a brownish red color. He has more brownish red or orangey red spots with cream, and his base is very dark, which hers is also a dark base, but it doesn't show as much because most of her is orange. But her orange is more like a pumpkin cream color, and it's just orange. Like, I suppose you could probably consider her to be a Halloween, but to me she's not orange enough to be Halloween. Like orange, when I think of Halloween Crested Gecko, the trait itself is like super vibrant reddish orange. And with her, she's more like a pumpkin. But, I mean, you could consider her to be a Halloween, I guess, because Halloween geckos are pretty much geckos that lack any white pigment. They're only orange. So, I mean, you, I guess, could consider her that. But either way, I'm curious to see what kind of babies they'll produce in the future. Because, like, in 2020 or 2021... depending on where I am and stuff when it comes financially and if I'm able to move out yet or not, because I don't want to breed until I have my own place, because I'd like to be able to have more space to be able to do stuff. And right now, where I still am living at home, I just have my room, of course, and I wouldn't want my geckos to not be out of my room to begin with. If where I'm still at home, of course. When I have my own place, that's going to be different because it's just me and my animals, so I can put them wherever I want, and I can have a more controlled environment where I'm the one choosing the temperature of the house. So whenever I'm able to move out, then I'm definitely going to be considering breeding again, but until then I'm just going to be growing out my babies, which of course they're nowhere near ready to breed anyway. So, but 2020 and 2021, that's still quite a ways off. Obviously 2020 is coming up in a few months, but I have that entire year to become more financially stable. I'm rambling again. Anyway, guys, I hope you got to enjoy seeing Harmony. I'm going to stop rambling now and go ahead and end the video because I know I'm probably boring you guys. So anyway, again, I will go ahead and repeat, if you want to support the channel, like and subscribe, because it definitely encourages me to make more videos and stuff. And with this one, it's probably the longest video I've made in a very long time, so hopefully somebody will get some enjoyment out of it, and hopefully it'll teach you a lot when it comes to vitamins and stuff. And of course this was more for anybody that wants to see the babies, this part of the video. So not really so much teaching wise, I guess you can see how I feed babies. But anyway guys, thank you again for watching, and have a good rest of your night.